you brought up oral history, which this is another criticism that comes from the Bible is that we don't have, for the Old Testament, they didn't write anything down
Not for a while.
long time. So everything is shared through oral history. We're just telling stories back and forth. So how are we to say that, Moses, maybe it was a different kind of burning bush, and maybe he got a little confused, and maybe he's exaggerating a little bit, and maybe the sea didn't really part, and he didn't really strike a rock and water came out of it. Maybe Moses is just building himself
Somebody
up.
remembered that wrong in the process of grandpa passing on story to dad, passing on story to kid, who passed it on to grandkid.
The example is always used as playing a game of telephone. Jake whispers something to you, you tell it to me, you tell it to Rick, and it's a totally different message.
Let's use that. That's a great analogy as telephone. We would just have to change the rules of telephone a little bit to match oral tradition, which would simply be, if the four of us were going to play telephone by those rules, you would say the thing out loud so the four of us hear it. I would repeat it to Jake so the four of us hear it. He would correct me. You would correct me. You would correct me until it's accurate. Then I would repeat it to Jake, and then he would repeat it to Rick. With the four of us listening, I say four, but we're talking in a time where families live together. So you had 10 kids who each had kids, and they just added a tent onto the back 40 or whatever. So your family is not four like a lot of ours. Your family is 100. I mean, it's a huge group. And as Grandpa is telling the story of Moses and the burning bush around the campfire on Tuesday night, and this time he goes, hey, grandson, you tell it today. Well, we got this. We call it community correction. Community correction was a huge component of oral tradition. Also, I feel like I'm talking a lot because I love this stuff. Also, it's a different culture. They remembered stuff because they didn't have any other option but to remember stuff. I don't remember anything. If I don't write it down, so here's a freebie, like if you ever talk to me and you're like, hey, will you do this thing for me? And you don't see me email myself, it's just not going to happen. I don't remember stuff because I don't have to remember stuff.
Right.
So this is a culture that is what they did, is remembered stuff. And there was probably less stuff.
Could you imagine, though, being the guy who Grandpa tells, like, hey, do you want to tell the story?
Nope.
No, because everybody around here is going to tell the story over top of me.
This culture is brutal.
Except it was an honor. So if we think about Jewish, I don't know what we all know about Jewish tradition, but we just think about the Passover Seder meal, where the kids get to ask the questions, and they're asked the same every year, but it's an honor for that kid to get to ask that question at dinner that then Grandpa's going to answer with a kind of a rote response type of thing. So,
I think it's important to emphasize, and you talked about it, that culturally very different.
Yeah.
Today we don't remember things. We don't remember what we had for breakfast, let alone what we did, what our grandparents did 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago.
I'll just Google it. It's easier.
So the example I always use, again, because this is in my crisis of faith, so I'm trying to find information, and there are records of auctioneers. So they're having auctions in the marketplace where the auctioneer will start at sunrise and will work until sundown all day, will not have anything in writing. And at the end of the day, we'll go to the bank and we'll be able to tell the banker exactly what was sold, who it was sold to, the amount it was sold for, the specific item number, and do that all from memory, and would do that every single day. So that's the culture that they live in, where you have to remember things because you're not writing things down. So if you don't remember it, it doesn't happen.
And if we bring it back into perspective of this was not them, and that's a great example, that's just auctioneer and prices. These guys, this was God's revelation to them, really important to get right and to remember.
Much more important than an auction item.
The pressure of getting it right, of remembering, would be enormous.
Enormous.